All right, guys, we are live. I have an actual microphone now. I feel a little weird about it, but wanted to improve the sound quality since I did start a podcast this week. All right, I see some people coming in on the chat. So while I'm waiting for you guys to pop in on the chat, I'm going to explain how this video is going to go down, make a few announcements while, and for those of you on the replay also. So I'm not just sitting here just babbling. So how this video is going to go down, essentially, it's about an 8-minute clip of a video that I'm just going to do a share screen and kind of talk through. And then I'm going to do Q&A with you guys. So that's how that's going to go. And then a couple of announcements to make before I get started. I'm only seeing that, okay, I'm seeing some people start to come on now. Cool. A few announcements, actually. So speaking of people coming on, good morning. I'm seeing you guys come in. I've gotten a lot of emails over the last couple of months that have been very strange, having to do with YouTube basically unsubscribing people from my channel, people not getting notifications. It's some serious effery, and I am not I'm not somebody who gets involved in these types of things and worries about it, but it's very, very odd. So what I have done, I'm not going to sit here and play victim and all that. There's obviously some screwy things going on behind the scenes. My subscriber count has been going up and down by 10. Lose 10, gain 10, lose 10, gain 10 for the last 2 months. It's very bizarre. And I'm getting emails from people telling me that they've been unsubscribed from my channel and they never unsubscribed. So instead of me getting all pissed, because I've been pissed, but I've created an email list that it is, if you pull the information, and someone says they didn't get a notification, even though the bell icon was clicked. Yeah, it happens. It's been happening. So a couple things. I am going to encourage everyone to pull down the information section of this video, subscribe to my newsletter, because that's really the best way. People, you're not going to get screwed with in that fashion, that we can kind of stay in touch. And I don't spam people, I promise. Good morning, Angela. I don't spam you guys, I promise. But that's one way. I'm also going to be doing tomorrow, Sunday, depending on when you're watching this, a masterclass on how to do high-fat carnivore. It's on Zoom. If you can't attend, you can click the link and then I will send you the replay. It's also going to come with a PDF with a lot of information, resources, a lot of the stuff that I'll talk about through the class, but just so you have a clickable PDF. I'm also going to do another coaching group in February. I've been doing them since October. I did November, December, and now January. So I'm going to do another one in February, but I'm in there a lot. That's another reason why I haven't been doing as many YouTube live streams or just as much on YouTube as in general, because I go live in my group a lot and I'm involved in that group a lot. So if that's another way, if you want to come hang, you can come in the group. And then the last announcement before I jump into the video and topic is that I came out with a podcast this week, another way to just get the message out. And a lot of you guys on the channel really did request that I start putting my interviews into an actual podcast, so you can pop in your earbuds and go for a walk and do house chores and stuff without using YouTube. So the links for that on Apple, Spotify, Google, Anchor, all those is in the information section. So I'll be doing more of the podcasting. I'm going to keep my YouTube channel, even though YouTube is like clearly screwing with me. I don't know. I really don't understand why I've been targeted, because I'm not a person who talks about anything controversial unless you consider meat controversial, which apparently it is now in 2021. Meat's controversial, but there's there's topics I don't discuss on my YouTube channel because of that, because I don't want to get flagged, but apparently I got flagged. Don't know why. Anyway, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to encourage you guys, if you want to stay in touch, to keep in touch with me via the links in information section. So I'm seeing you guys come on. Hello, Jimmy Zero Carb. I've been wondering how you've been doing. Yeah, Roxanne, it is crazy. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this video a little bit. One other little thing I want to talk about in this video Is ketosis important? Are you in ketosis with a carnivore diet? I feel like this is more and more of a controversial topic. And it's hard for me to take hard stances on, does everyone need to do it all the time? And it's number one, it's really going to, oh, thank you, Amanda. It's going to depend on your goals. I want to just put that out there before I jump into this video at all. Whether or not you're in ketosis is going to depend on your goals, where you're coming from, your health history. I did really well on carnivore without worrying about being in ketosis, and I wasn't in ketosis when I tested. I remember I did carnivore for very strictly for about 6 months, and then I bought my very first Keto Mojo. Yes, I'm reacting to a video of Dr. Berg. So hang in there. I'm going to start it in just a minute. I'll do a share screen and we're going to talk through this video of Dr. Berg's talking about carnivore for someone asking there in the comments. But I did carnivore and I was not in ketosis. I thought I was, but I was not when I tested on a Keto Mojo. But it wasn't a problem for me. I had a lot of great benefits and I wasn't. But as I continued on and did carnivore for longer and longer, I started having some stuff that popped up, which again, I'll talk about as we kind of go through this video. This is a video Dr. Berg put out about 3 days ago with Dr. Zofia Clemens, who some of you guys may already know. She's been on a lot of different podcasts with pretty much everybody in the community. I may even have her on my podcast now that I've got one and it's up and going, but she does a very specific protocol called PKD. And a lot of you guys are probably already familiar with this. So we're going to see how this goes with me sharing screen reacting. I don't know if I'll get, I've seen other creators when they do a live stream, sometimes it messes with the stream because there's copyright bots out there that'll kind of pause the stream. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. But we're going to start it up. And so if you guys, I won't be able to really see a lot of your comments as I'm talking through this, but I'll try to go back and look to as many of them as I can. And again, after we go through this video, we'll have a little discussion and then plenty of time for Q&A if you guys have questions. So awesome. I see all the comments coming in. It's awesome to have you guys. All right, let me figure. I'm new to the share screen thing. So let me make sure I can do this. Let's see. Gonna share. Yes, that's the one we're gonna share. Okay. Let's go to it. It says share audio too. I mean, I would assume I'd want to share audio. Okay. Let's go to it. Here we go.
How would you differentiate carnivore versus what you're recommending, which is paleo ketogenic?
So the carnivore diet, in most cases, not resulting in ketosis. So those who are following an undefined carnivore diet are still running their body on carbohydrates.
Okay, so I'm pausing that, coming back for a second. Let's talk about that for a second before we go further. I do think that people can react to higher amounts of protein and lower amounts of fat differently before we jump further into that. And I do think that there are some people that do carnivore, right? And they fast a lot. So my friend, Laura Spath, she was just putting up her ketone numbers. I'm sure a lot of you guys know Laura. She put up in her stories this morning her ketone numbers, and she had a 1.5 of ketones. And she does eat the higher protein. She doesn't really add a lot of fat. I know she puts butter on her stuff, but she does a lot of fasting. Now, if you go back and watch the video I did with Dr. Mindy Pelz, this week, we actually talk about fasting and maybe who shouldn't fast and who better times to fast. And yeah, and see, I see this comment right here. I'll just add this in right here. Randall says, and no, Randall, don't panic. Don't panic. So haven't eaten today, 17-hour fast right now. I just tested 91 blood glucose and 0.5 keto. I've been eating really clean carnivore with no dairy. I've been gaining a couple pounds in the last week. So no, don't panic. Don't panic. We're going to talk through this a little bit because, you know, like I said, I did fine with those numbers, Randall, for several months on carnivore. And I think that there can be benefits there. But let's talk through this a little bit more. But number one, I don't want you to panic, but that exactly what you're saying, Randall, is what I experienced. And somebody says, I like much of what Dr. Berg does, but I don't agree with the need for high levels of vegetables. And I totally agree with that also. But I have a lot of respect for Dr. Berg. So if you want me to have a response video where I trash talk somebody, that's not going to happen because that's just not my style. I never trash talk people. I will let other people do that, but I'm not going to do that. All right, let's keep going. But I want to throw that in there. I think you can be in ketosis on carnivore, but some people, to do that, you have to do a lot of fasting. And depending on your health and, hormones and all that stuff, doing a lot of fasting may not be necessarily on the table for you. But let's keep rolling through.
Instead of fats, despite not eating carbohydrates.
Tell me about that. Explain that.
Yeah, so an average people on a carnivore diet is eating 800 to 800 grams to 1.5 kilograms of meat or something like that, which is a huge amount that put a lot of pressure on your digestive system because the volume is too much. You are not in ketosis, you are still producing glucose from the protein that you eat. And overall, it is an ineffective way of obtaining energy.
So I want to clarify just for my viewers that even though there's no carbohydrates in protein, if you have excessive amounts, the body's going to take a good portion of that and break it down into glucose. Yes,
because there is no other way to obtain energy. You can have energy either from carbohydrates or the fat.
Okay, so let's jump into that real quick. And this is what I've seen with a lot of people. Some people can, again, get into ketosis and be fine doing larger amounts of protein. But I think that one other thing they didn't talk about is and because it's kind of new science, is the gut microbiome and how your individual body handles these large amounts of protein, because some people can really do big amounts of protein and be okay. But there are other people who can't. Now, I just did, and I have a link below this video, one of my sponsors, Thrive, THRYVE, and again, it's linked below the video, did a gut health test, which a lot of you guys know about. And one of those things on my gut health test said that I had poor protein handling, which was crazy to me. I have awesome fat handling, good carb handling, but poor protein handling. So I think, especially people with a lot of metabolic issues, a lot of stuff in, autoimmune issues, metabolic issues, that stuff, a lot of it does stem from the gut also. And so if you happen to be one of these people that has not as well, the bacteria in your gut is not as efficient of digesting that protein, that you could also kind of fall into this camp where she's talking about, where you're constantly running gluconeogenesis. Now, this is what I've talked about quite a bit, is that it's better for your body to either be in a ketone metabolism or a glucose metabolism. We're hybrid, so we can go back and forth. And that's why I think people can do a lot of fasting and kind of get away with not seeing kind of some of the issues she's about to start talking about. But it is stressful on the system. And I think that, yes, exactly. Teresa says this. Yes. High blood glucose while fasting is a sign of high cortisol. That's how gluconeogenesis works. We use cortisol to create sugars, too high cortisol. And it's also the protein. Like, there is an insulin response to protein. And I know that that's controversial. A lot of carnivore doctors and a lot of people say it's insignificant, it's not a problem. But, I think it does come down to what's going on in your individual body, your metabolic history, what your blood glucose was, if you're pre-diabetic coming into this. And again, that a lot of that does come back into the gut. So before I jumped into further, I just wanted to clarify that, because there's that's the crazy thing about all this. There's no one size fits all. And I think people can run gluconeogenesis for a little while and be fine. Like I said, I was great. I had amazing results from just doing carnivore without necessarily being in that, in ketosis, kind of more in gluconeogenesis. I still had good results, but then I stopped having good results. So let's keep on with the video. And I'm glad to see your comments coming through. I haven't gotten a copyright bot to stop me yet. So we'll keep going.
Right.
The protein is not good for energy, and
Right.
you need the energy. What you eat is basically for covering your energy needs. And it is also a very small amount of meat that you have to eat to cover the protein need.
Okay, so so that's a big difference. You have it's way too much protein, and then I'll just let you continue. We're going to mention something about the fat.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Oh, I cut you off right in the middle. You were talking about the difference between carnivore and what you're recommending.
So the difference is that if you are following a carnivore diet, you are still running your body on glucose, despite the fact that you are not eating carbohydrates at all.
Right.
So it is not resulting in ketosis. You will not benefit. You will not have the benefits that are coming from the ketosis alone. You will have the benefits of not eating plant food items, but that's only half of your benefits. You also need to be in ketosis, because if not, this state is not sustainable in the long run. And this is what is happening with patients. Initially, they feel relieved from their symptoms. They start enjoying having more energy, or skin symptoms going away. So there are certain benefits for sure. But as time is going on, the negative consequences will prevail over the positive ones. They will be running out of energy. They will be fatigued. They will have digestive issues, diarrhea, dry skin.
All right, so I'll pause again. And someone just said in the chat, it seems everyone thinks we must be in ketosis when what really matters is what works best for your body and its issues. And I 100% agree with that, because like I said, there are going to be some people, like she just said, that do carnivore and they have amazing benefits the way that I did. And it's kind of different for everyone. I just spoke with Scott of Carnivore Cast. We did a podcast. I was on his podcast again. That'll go up mid-February, but Scott and I talked about this, and he and I have kind of a unique vantage point. Me from being on YouTube and really listening. I read the comments, I interact with people, I run private groups, and Scott having Carnivore Cast, both of us have talked with all the different doctors and a lot of the different experts in this field. And Scott has been doing, he's no longer really doing carnivore. He's doing like a meat-based diet, but he's added in carbohydrates. I've gone the opposite way of going a super high fat carnivore diet, but both of us ran into a lot of these similar issues. I did great with carnivore, and then all of a sudden, too much, after 8 months or so, too much gluconeogenesis for me. I did start getting digestive stuff and the dry skin on my feet. And I was like, what's going on? And so that was about that time I met, Stephanie Keto Person, and she helped me to switch to doing a higher fat carnivore diet, which has been awesome for me and was magic for my hormones. But everyone's going to have a different reaction to this. Like I mentioned, that Thrive gut health test has been like a light bulb moment for me in a lot of ways. And a lot of other people that are I've talked to have done this gut health test, and a lot of them who have had to go to a higher fat carnivore after, like I said, having those initial benefits, but then starting to run into issues. They had the same thing on their test. It said they had good fat handling, decent carbohydrate handling, but terrible protein handling, which is interesting. It's all really interesting. All right, so I'm going to jump back into this. We're not going to watch the whole video. Obviously, we're only going up to about a couple more minutes of this. So, and then we're going to stop, and then we'll do Q&A and talk. All right.
And there are many more that develop over a longer period of time.
Interesting. So bringing down the protein to what do you normally recommend as actual protein?
We used to do a 2-week follow-up for patients, because there is no one general suggestion, but it is much less than people used to eat.
Okay.
And then we are in a closed loop with patients on a day-by-day feedback. They are doing home measurements. They are sending their home measurements every day. And then we are giving a suggestion day by day. You should be decreasing, you should be increasing. So this is a matter of fine tuning.
I like that.
By the end of the 2 weeks, they will end up having ideally good amount of food and good ratio.
And then as far as the fat, you have to raise the fat, or else what else are you going to raise? So what's the ratio maybe of protein to fat?
So speaking of dry matter content, it is 2 to 1, 2 for the fat, 1 for the protein.
And that's
Okay, so I just want to jump in. We're about done with the video critique here. So if you guys have questions, you can start popping them in the chat. It's not a critique at all. I didn't mean to say critique. Like I said, I have a great amount of respect for both people in the video. But the thing that I really like that she just said that I think is important for anybody watching this video who's concerned about ketosis or who's wanting to try this higher fat approach is that what she does with patients, you know, she has a clinic where she's really working with chronically ill people who have cancer, autoimmune diseases, multiple. She is having them send in their numbers, you know, their blood sugar numbers, ketone numbers. Yeah. So it's very individual. And like I said, I'm doing that kind of masterclass on Sunday. There's a link in the information section where I'm going to teach people how they can do this and how they can test their numbers to know it's working. And it's doing well. But yeah, it's so hard because everyone kind of wants to know how much of this to eat and how much of that to eat and what's going to be best. And it's so individual. You really have to know your own numbers because we're all going to react very differently to this. Okay. You know what? I think that's about it from the video because the only other thing they really talk about is the difference between, you know, why you would not want to have butter, kind of fats that you would want to use. One other point they make about fat in the video, and I did link this in the information. I think I'm going to stop sharing. We'll just go to stream. Okay, there we go. But one thing that they did talk about, you can go and watch that whole video if you want to. I found it all to be very interesting is, you know, how Dr. Berg kind of talks about how we have to add all this fat and we have to go find the fat. And what Dr. Clemens says is that ancestrally, we always had a ton of fat. We always had lots of fat with the animal. But what we've done, especially here in the States, is that we discard most of the fat. We discard it or we don't use it. So the fat's always been available ancestrally. So let me get into some of these comments. And if you guys have more questions, we can talk, we can discuss all the things. Candace, don't worry. So here's the deal. Jimmy says, I'm enjoying listening, just confused because the carnivore diet is definitely working for me. Lost over 120 pounds since 1620 and still losing. I OMAD and love it. But to be honest, not sure if I was ever in ketosis. So number one, Jimmy, I'm a huge like supporter, advocate of this. This is freaking amazing. And I think everyone watching needs to hear this. As I kind of mentioned in the very beginning of the stream, what are your goals, right? If your goal is simply weight loss, I don't think you have to be concerned about being in ketosis or not, to be honest with you. I don't. And if you're doing OMAD, that's fasting. You're fasting a lot. You know, I consider that fasting and most people would consider that fasting. So you probably are making ketones because you are doing that OMAD, right? So yeah. And you know, if your goal is simply weight loss, I have a friend of mine. Good morning, Becky. A friend of mine who I want to get on here. We just do everything 100% different, like way different. But her name is Keto Chaos. Her name's Tammy. And I love her channel. Like I said, we do everything 100% different, but she has done a very high protein version of keto, which is you're not really in ketosis, but she's lost 208 pounds. And she was able to, so she says it doesn't really matter. She never weighed, tracked, or measured a darn thing the whole time that she did this kind of high protein version of keto. And she did fine with it. So I don't know. She hasn't really posted like a bunch of stats, blood work, all that stuff, or gone into depth about that. It's just her main goal was weight loss. Okay. So for me doing carnivore, I didn't really have a lot of weight to lose. Mine was to really just feel better and get rid of my IBS, IBD. I had chronic joint pain. I had all kinds of issues. So a lot of that resolved just doing a standard carnivore, but eventually my cortisol got to be really high. I was having a lot of interrupted sleep. I was waking, and I hear this a lot from people in my private groups. That's the number one issue that I feel like people come into my groups with, is that they are waking up a lot at night. And that can be, again, from running too much gluconeogenesis, your body being in that state and not being in ketosis or glucose burning, right? Those are the two preferred metabolic states. And if you're hanging out here in the middle for too long, too much of it, I mean, you're going to run a little bit of it regardless. If you exercise or have something stressful happen, it's going to happen, and it's a biological process and it's okay, but you don't want to live there. So I hope that's making sense to you guys. Candace says, I'm so confused regarding keto versus carnivore, growing more and more confused. I want to lose weight and not really sure what I should do. So Candace, here's the thing. Yeah. And John says, forget labels. Yes, exactly. Don't worry about doing XYZ diet, doing it perfectly, doing it right. You have to find what feels best in your body. Some people are going to, feel really good just doing keto. They're going to have a lot of stuff that gets better for them by eliminating sugars and carbs and just doing keto, right? Some people are still going to have lingering issues, and need to go further into carnivore. Some people can do standard carnivore. Some people need to go high fat carnivore. But if your goal is weight loss, you need to just find what works best for you. And you're going to have to create an energy deficit. So that's the biggest thing here, is the energy deficit. And I say energy, I don't say calorie, because your total daily energy expenditure minus, your whatever you're eating, that's how you're going to be able to lose that weight. Let's see. Randall says, I'm down 78 pounds since starting carnivore 8/4/2020. I still have 75 pounds to go. 78 pounds is amazing. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. Great job. And if you guys are interested in high fat carnivore, my friend Becky Niles here, I'm highlighting her. She has a YouTube channel. She has a lot of great videos on high fat carnivore. She does it. She posts all her numbers on Instagram. She's also a MEATERx coach, so she's a good resource. And then again, I'm doing that high fat carnivore masterclass where I'll help you guys figure out how to test what your macros should be to lose weight if you're trying to do that, how to figure that out for yourself. Yeah, Randall says, I have not been a good sleeper for years. I feel like the sleep thing is so crazy, you guys. It's the biggest problem that I see people having. And I wish it was as simple as like, eat this way, whatever, but we really have to look at it as like the body is a lot of times producing too much cortisol. Why? It could be as simple as you're running. For me, it was as simple as too much gluconeogenesis, and that was creating more cortisol in my body. And as soon as I switched over to high fat, my sleep immediately got better. And I was doing too much fasting also. But some other people, they're on their phones a lot. They have other stressful things in their life. I meditate. I do a lot of restorative during the day activities. Dr. Andrew Huberman is an amazing person to speak with. I would love to get him on my podcast, but I think I'm not big enough to have him. But for those of you who really do want to learn more about sleep, I always send people over to his channel, Dr. Andrew Huberman. It's amazing. Philip says, I think the missing link for some people that seem to be doing good on carnivore for a while is bacteria. Raw fermented meat has that. Look at the Inuits, many eat their meat raw. Yeah, Philip, I think that the microbiome is overlooked. The science is really new. I did an interview with Kieran Krishnan of Microbiome Labs. He's a top microbiologist, has been in his expertise field of study for the last 18 years, I want to say. And we really talked about this. That episode's going to come out on Wednesday, of the need for diversity and bacteria in the gut. So I definitely do agree with you on that, Philip, that I think that over time that can become an issue for some people. Roxanne says, as long as low carb, I think is best. I think you're saying is low carb is best. I think for a lot of people, low carb is going to be really good, honestly, because a lot of people have yeast. A lot of people have bacteria in their gut. That sugar or carbs feed that bacteria, and it creates more and more issues for sure. Jimmy says, just found your podcast. Can't wait to listen. Thank you, Jimmy. I have some like super amazing episodes coming out. I've already recorded about 4 or 5 episodes, and I'm going to have a new one every Wednesday. And I'll post a short clip every time on YouTube. I may eventually put the full episodes out on YouTube because I've had a couple requests for that. But for now, I'm excited for that. Let's see. Roxanne says, I walk every day and I'm okay with my weight. Finally lost all the baby weight after 2 kids. Now I mostly just worry about the junk they eat. Do you have kids, Sarah? Yes, Roxanne. I have a daughter who is 13 and she's keto. And I have some playlists here on my channel. It's been a long process for her, but she's keto. Becky says, love you, girl. Love you too, Becky. Becky is my girl for sure. We've known each other since like we both started Carnivore around the same time. So it's been cool to have her somebody we've changed and grown together. So it's been very cool. Tammy says, did you post the high fat class? I may have missed it. If you pull down the information section of this video, you can click on the link and sign up for that. It'll be this Sunday. If you can't come to the live class, you'll get a recording of it and you'll also get a PDF that'll kind of go over everything that I'm talking about. Okay. So Randall says, I'm confused about salt. Yeah, electrolytes. And I'm going to do another video next week, I think, about minerals and electrolytes because it is confusing. Everyone needs different amounts. Your adrenals really influence how much salt your body is going to hold on to or get rid of. It can be confusing, but most people doing a diet without carbohydrates, period, they do need to supplement with like a Redmond sea salt, a pink Himalayan sea salt. So yeah, it can be confusing. And I've done 3 hair mineral tests now. I just got my other one back. The day before yesterday, I just got the results and I was thrilled because I finally think I've like figured out this mineral thing. It was my best looking mineral test to date because your hair shows the last 3 months of what your minerals look like. But yeah, salt can be confusing, but most people really need between 1 teaspoon and 3 teaspoons of salt per day if they're doing keto or low carb. I don't give ratios amounts because again, I don't know what's going on with your adrenals. I don't have a hair mineral panel to see what's going on in your unique body. But yeah, we do, I think, need to pay attention to that for sure. Let's see. So on both, you need to watch sugar and carbs. What is the major difference between the two? So, I mean, a simple sugar is going to react differently in your gut than like a resistant starch. It's how and it's also how your individual body metabolizes those things too. So I just stay away from both. Honestly, I feel better without. Let's see. Philip says bacteria is also involved in energy production in the body. Yeah, they produce enzymes and vitamins for us, so they are necessary. And if you eat only cooked meat, then no bacteria can grow from that. Yeah, Philip, that was one of the things I actually talked with Kirian about was this need for bacteria. And on my gut microbiome test, after eating a lot of cooked meats mainly for the last couple of years, some of that bacteria was like, oh gosh, I gotta make some changes. So I've made some changes. I've just sent away another microbiome test. So hopefully I'll have the results of that to go over with you guys. Let's see. Tammy says, my biggest struggle is how do you know how much fat to eat? I feel like I'm eating a ton. And it's different for everyone, Tammy. That's why I'm doing the high fat masterclass because it's so hard for me to explain it just in a 2-minute clip here. And it's all about testing yourself. It's very individual. Like I was saying in this video that we went over, if you're just joining the stream, I did kind of go over this video with Zofia Clemens and Dr. Berg, that she has patients literally every day sending in their numbers, their blood glucose and how much they're eating, because it's something that you have to fine tune. It is a process you have to fine tune. Teresa says, my sleep never healed until I started carbs, milk, and honey. And, that's something I also talked about with Scott from Carnivore Cast. because he had a lot of sleep problems just running a standard carnivore diet. And he's a very active guy. And he also had an issue digesting the amount of fat that he was going to need to eat in order to do a higher fat carnivore. So what he ended up doing was eating some like benign carbs, and he's doing great with it. And it's not causing him, he didn't have a lot of autoimmune issues. He didn't have probably a lot of yeast overgrowth or some of those things that are problematic and that cause problems for people when they eat carbs. And so he, I improved my sleep going really, really high fat. He improved his sleep adding in carbs. So I always want to be non-dogmatic and say that's not just one way, and you really have to find what works best for you. Maria says, does your glucose go up when you're about to get your menstrual cycle? Yes, it does. Most women, the week before their cycle, the blood sugar runs a bit higher. So that's normal. It's your hormones really, really influence that blood glucose. So that's why high fat can be really good for people. I did that interview with Dr. Mindy Pelz that was posted on Wednesday, and there's a longer podcast episode. If you guys want to go listen to that, we talked more about, the menstrual cycle in women. I talked about my experience that during PMS week and during ovulation, I have to go super, super high fat. Or I just feel like crap, I just feel like crap. And she recommends people to eat some like carbohydrates essentially during ovulation and during PMS, which I don't necessarily think you have to do that. I think that eating really high fat can help support those hormones. Marley says, hello, Marley. Did you notice feeling less or more satiated when you switched to high fat ratios? It was hard for me at first because I was used to a larger volume of food. And so going to high fat, I had to really wait a little bit. I had to slow down, become more mindful about my eating, make sure I wasn't drinking liquids around my meal. Eat slowly because it was an adjustment. It's a lot less volume when you're upping the fat and taking that protein down a bit. So it was a bit of an adjustment for sure. Now that I've been doing it for a while, it's no big deal. I feel like I'm plenty satisfied, but yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. Allison says she tries to eat kimchi every day. I've actually never had kimchi before, but I've heard it's really good. Jimmy says, I've learned a lot from you, Sarah. The best thing is that everyone is different. LOL. What works for you might not work for me. Learn what works for you. Yes, Jimmy. Thank you. That is exactly, that's exactly the thing there. And you guys feel free to drop more questions in the chat if you want to, as this is just so individual. I mean, that's why some people say I'm crazy for doing as much testing as I do. I have all the let's get checked links down there. I run blood work on myself when I can. Probably every 90 days, I run a thyroid, I run my hormones. I love to just know like, how is what I'm doing affecting that? I run the hair mineral tests. I've done 3 in a row now. I run those every 90 days because that's how often you can tell the things in your body are changing. I'm running the Thrive gut health test is new for me. I'm going to be running those every 90 days. Now I just ran my second one to see how all that works. And I love to share that with all of you guys because I want everyone to understand how to dig deeper. I've done continuous glucose monitors, several of those. I still use a Keto Mojo to test blood sugar and see how those numbers are looking, just because this is not just a one size fits all. One size fits all is really sexy though. Like, let's talk about that. One of my pet peeves is people that, they give these absolute answers like fasting is safe for everybody. You can fast all that you want in any time. Gluconeogenesis is no problem. Okay, that might be really true for some people, and some other people that may be completely not true. It's definitely completely not true for me. So when I see people doing Q&As and making these videos of like a one size fits all, like I said, it's very sexy. It sells, it gets you a lot of views. It gets you a lot of fans because this person has the answer. They're the guru. They know, and they have usually a doctor at the end of their name. And what ends up happening, a lot of people that are in my groups and that, even just email me, message me, is that they're trying to follow like these, put themselves in a box and do this checklist and this thing, and they're having all these problems, and they're not making the connection of this a one size fits all. It's very individual. And perhaps this is not something that's going to apply to them, right? And it's like cult mentality and like guru mentality. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And it hasn't won me a lot of popularity points by saying that stuff. But yeah, here's Randall's question. I have had no artificial sweeteners since starting carnivore. Do you use artificial sweeteners? I don't, Randall, because of a couple reasons. Number one, sweeteners can interrupt your gut. Definitely, for sure. It can be gut distress. I used to TMI. I used to use a little stevia before I started carnivore, and I would get this horrible gas like every single time. And then I read that stevia could actually cause a lot of gas for people. So it can really disrupt your gut. And then also I'm a recovering sugar addict, and I just don't put sweet things in my mouth because it triggers a part of my brain that causes me to want to eat more sweet things. And I'd rather not deal with that craving, just kind of shooting off those neurons kind of firing in my brain around sweet. So I don't even have a toothpaste with any kind of sweet taste in it. I use like a charcoal toothpaste. Hello, John. I get John's comments all the time. Allison says, how bad is caffeine? I drink a lot. And Chase says too much caffeine triggers insulin. This, again, is another bio-individual thing. You can test to see if you carry a SNP or a genetic mutation that makes your body more sensitive to caffeine. Some people can drink caffeine and they're fine and it doesn't do anything to insulin. Blood glucose stays nice and steady. But I've also talked with other people that it will make their blood sugar way higher. And yeah, it could trigger insulin. It's just very individual. You have to test and see how it affects you. I always tell people, if you have any gut issues at all or any trouble sleeping, you got to get off the caffeine. You got to cut it out. Becky says, I love my data tracking and tools. I'm able to monitor all areas of the journey. Yeah, Becky and I are both like, we like to track, we like to test, and it's interesting because then we can also share the information with others, and people can say, all right, let's figure this out. Let's see. How does one go about finding a doctor that is keto friendly? I've checked several sites, and the closest keto friendly doctor to me is 2.5 hours away. Well, John, I wonder if so many doctors now, because of 2020, and we won't even say the word, speaking of bots, but so many doctors are willing to work virtually now. And so I know there's a lot of doctors that work virtually. You just have to find one that's going to really address the issues that you have, and that can be keto and carnivore friendly. So it really depends on what kind of issues you're trying to work with and get clarification on. Let's see. Patricia says, I've recently decided to cut down on my protein intake and adding more fats, usually butter, to my meals. That's my favorite. Still not sure if I'm doing the high fat, low protein correctly. It's Patricia, I would just see how you're feeling, how you're feeling, how you're sleeping. You can always go more down the road and do some of those testing metrics. Come to my high fat masterclass. Again, that link is below this video, and we'll kind of help you a little bit with that. But you really have to see how you're feeling, how you're sleeping, how's your energy. And then you can go further and use some of those testing metrics to see, because like I said earlier, it's all going to be so individual. I have low cortisol and retain so much fluid. Would I still need to supplement with salt? Well, here's the thing. We all need some salt, but it just depends on how your body is holding on to that salt. You probably, Kylie, would not need to supplement with as much salt as someone who maybe suffered from migraines. So we're all going to react differently to that salt. You probably need a little bit, but how much to supplement is going to be so individual. As I was kind of sharing with my group yesterday, I did a live stream in my January group, that my hair mineral tests have changed drastically over the last 9 months. And I feel like the last 3 months, I really dialed it in. What I did was I cut back on salt. I took the potassium citrate out. I took the magnesium capsules out. I just dialed it way back and kind of let my body find its own balance. And that hair mineral test, it looked really good from doing that. And now I'm drinking some Soleil water in the mornings just to supplement that sodium. But we all need salt. We all need sodium. It's just so individual of how much. So I would look at getting a hair mineral test. That would be really interesting. Jimmy says sweeteners and dairy stalled my weight loss, so I stopped it all. Yeah, that's true for so many people, Jimmy, and good on you for being strong enough, because I know those things are so addicting for some people. The sweeteners and the dairy can be very addictive. Randall says, I love and watch all your videos on YouTube. I am not on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you for being here, Randall. And I've hired someone. I'm actually paying for this, a membership site where people can come. I'm going to show early content, interact, do live streams just in that group. Hopefully that'll be ready by the end of February. So stay tuned, sign up for my newsletter if you want to hang and interact in that format. Allison says, are you planning on eating this way for the rest of your life? Probably not, to be honest with you. I am planning on definitely staying keto, low carb for sure. Carnivore, probably not. I'm actually going to try do some food reintroductions next month after World Carnivore Month, because we're still in World Carnivore Month here, but I'm going to be doing some food reintroductions. I've got some different reasons for why I'm doing that. It's not because I'm dying and my minerals are a mess and everything's a disaster, but I'm just kind of curious to see how my gut healing protocol has gone, how I will react to these different foods and things like that. But it's, I'm not sold into a particular diet per se. I'm sold into trying to figure out what's going to work best for me. And that's not always going to be the same thing. What may work for you for a certain amount of time may not work for you in the future. And so I'm really open to that. And I encourage other people to be open to that. That the body changes. We have chemical changes, the microbiome changes, the environment changes. So we can't just do the same thing forever. Okay. Yes. Come to the masterclass, Patricia. I'd love to have you. Marley's going to be there. John says, I never thought of that. Thanks for the info, virtual doc. Yes. Yeah. The thing about the whole pandemic is that it has opened up a lot of doors for us to be able to do things, to work virtually and to connect with people that were really probably difficult to connect with before. So that's one advantage. Allison says, I'm thinking of signing up for the high fat class, but I don't have a gallbladder. Afraid too much fat might make me ill. Yes. So that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in the very beginning of the class, is that people with low stomach acid, people with no gallbladder, they want to go into this slowly. They don't want to just jump way up. And I don't really recommend people going into a high fat carnivore diet coming from standard American diet. Definitely not. I'm going to recommend that for people who are already doing carnivore and maybe they're starting to have some issues with gluconeogenesis, or they're curious. They're like, how would I feel better if I go higher on my fat and take protein down a little bit? Would it fix a couple things that I'm still having issues with? But if you don't have a gallbladder or have low stomach acid, I recommend people start slowly, and there are going to be supplements that I will say you may want to try these out. Again, not medical advice. None of this is medical advice. Should have said that like 48 minutes ago. Not a doctor, not medical advice. And then I will also, here's a couple supplements that can help you make this transition to higher fat, some different enzymes. And then I'll also give a couple of experts that I recommend that you can work with, talk to if the supplements and things are not helping you. So I'm glad you brought that up, Allison. Randall says, Allison, I love eating meat, so this lifestyle is easy for me. I plan on eating this way for years ahead. And the thing is, yeah, I plan on having a meat-based diet forever. Like I'm not planning on going vegetarian, cutting out meat, cutting out eggs. I know emphatically that my body runs best on meat. It's like, do I want to add some condiments in? That's how I'm looking at it at this point of like, I'm kind of curious to see how I would do with condiments. And I look at plants as condiments. I look at the meat as the fuel. So for me, long term, that's kind of how I choose to look at it. So I hope that makes sense. Marley says, I was just as addicted to the artificial sweeteners as I was to sugar. Yes. Best thing I've done for myself to get rid of all of them. Yeah, I totally agree. And you guys feel free to pop questions in the chat if you have any more. I'm going to stay on for another few minutes before I go and actually have my own lunch because it is 12:50 here. But yeah, the sweet taste in my mouth just perpetuated more. And then I'd find myself treating the artificial sweeteners like I did sugar, like I'd have to go out of my way to buy them. And it was just crazy behavior, like the same kind of behavior I would have around sweets. Maria says, thank you for your podcast with Dr. Mindy. I'm looking into fasting the correct way for women. Last year, I stopped fasting because of hormone issues and I gained 30 pounds and I cannot take it off. And yeah, Maria, that's another thing I didn't really touch on with Dr. Mindy as much, but I did do an interview that'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. This week or next week, Wednesday is Curie and Microbiome Labs. The following week is it's totally kind of a different topic, but it's related with a lady. Her name is Irene Lyon, and I'm taking some of her programs right now because her work is so compelling to me. And what we really talked about is how sometimes, how the body goes into shutdown mode. And for me, doing all the fasting, it made my body go into shutdown mode. It made if you think about your body being like a battery, it went into safe mode. And I gained 15 pounds last year that I haven't lost. I lost a little, and then my body just said, no, we're not ready to get rid of this. And, it's frustrating for me. So I know 30 pounds is like absolutely got to be the worst frustration, 100%. But we can't just heal our hormones overnight. And for me, the really eye-opening thing about talking with Dr. Pells is the fact that I never took a break from fasting. I fasted through the whole month. There was never any variation with that. So what I did was, my body is very smart. Our bodies are very smart, and they literally will go into what I call, again, safe mode. And it is actually a function of the parasympathetic nervous system, your dorsal vagal nerve. There's a ventral vagal and a dorsal vagal. And one of those branches of your vagus nerve, which is basically your nervous system that runs all your organs, your autonomic nervous system, thyroid, gut, they will shut them down. And so they do not work at full speed. So metabolism slows, gut dysfunction, all kinds of stuff. And it's because we've put our bodies into these states, and fasting can do that to people. And it can take time for the body to heal. The good news, even though I haven't taken weight off, my hormones are better than ever right now. They are looking good. My minerals are good. So it's, yeah, let's see. This is a good question. Let me see. I eat less all fat because I gain weight real fast. Now I eat more yogurt, full fat. I lose weight a bit and feel good. No problem. Maybe getting older or somehow. I mean, it could, like I said, be that metabolism down regulating. It's so hard for me to know emphatically from one comment. I don't know your whole health history. Let's see. Would someone put on weight if doing high fat during periods when blood glucose is higher? Absolutely, you can. Especially if you're not in an energy deficit. One of the benefits of a therapeutic ketosis, which if you follow Dr. Annette Boz, I'm obsessed with her right now, love her. But she has this thing called the Dr. Boz ratio, where you want your glucose to be in a good range, right? And your ketones to be in a good range. And that's going to be your optimal fat burning, right? And so if you are in a little bit of an energy surplus with your food, but you're in that therapeutic range of ketosis, you can get away with eating a little bit more, right? But if your blood glucose is higher, you're not really in that, fat burning mode, and you're going to be more sensitive if you are in any kind of an energy surplus at all, for sure. I knew that keto wasn't cutting it for me. Too many health issues and addictive tendencies creeping back in. You were the first channel I really listened to about carnivore, 27 days in and feeling great. Yay, Tammy. Great job. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you for the information. I'm addicted to learning as much as possible about the proper human diet. I'm the same way, Randall. It's very interesting. And I love to hear feedback from you guys about how things are going. Because it was funny when I first started this channel, I had certain ideas and thought that everybody felt the same way I did, and everyone, was going to have the same results that I did. And I quickly learned from listening to my viewers and really interacting with them that it's not just a one size fits all, and everyone has a different reaction. Jimmy says, I'm doing about 190 grams of fat per day. I want to go up some. Your opinion, how far should I go? Well, Jimmy, it's honestly like hard for me to just give you that information because, like I said, if your goal is weight loss, you still need to create an energy deficit for your body, right? And it's going to depend on your total daily energy expenditure, how much energy your body is burning on a daily basis. And so it's hard for me to say, you're this tall, you weigh this much, eat this much, because I don't know what you do all day, your exercise. I don't know the state of your thyroid, your metabolism, all that stuff. But yeah, if you want to play around with it, and you take your protein down a little bit, add a little bit more fat and just play with it. That's going to be my opinion. I know it's not like a straight answer. I wish I could give, like I said, the answer in a box because it's sexy and everyone loves it. But I would be doing a great disservice to all of you guys if I give you these like blanket statements. You know what I mean? So you can do high protein and it can help you to lose weight. You can do high fat. It can help you to lose weight. You can, there's not just like do this to lose weight. So I don't know. I hope that helped a little bit. Becky says, I love Dr. Boz. Me too, Becky. I've been trying to get in touch with her because I want to talk with her so bad. She does so many cool things, but she's really hard to get a hold of. Hi, Vanessa. Yay, Vanessa. I haven't seen you in so long. Ketogenic Girl. I'm sure you guys all know Vanessa. Let's see. I'm going to stay on for just a couple more minutes here. Thank you. I do Soleil as well to help my hypoglycemia headaches. Yeah, Soleil water is awesome. I'm going to make a video about it at some point soon because I've been doing Soleil water for my minerals and it's been really awesome. Let's see. Danielle says, I finally adapted and naturally doing OMAD. I feel fantastic and I'm in deep ketosis all day, even after working out and eating. That's awesome. Congratulations. Jimmy says, thank you. That helped a lot. Okay, cool, Jimmy. I'm just glad you're here and you're still on your journey and you're still hanging in there. We all made it through the holidays. I know Jimmy was on my live stream before the holidays and he was a little nervous about how to get through it. So here we are into January, still going strong. Vanessa, if you're still on, Randall says we need more videos. Yes, more content, Vanessa. Pull it out for us. Becky Niles says she is hard to, yeah, Dr. Boz is really hard to get a hold of, but yeah, she's awesome. So here's another one for Soleil water. Tammy Bell says Soleil water has helped me as well every morning. Yeah, it's super easy to make, you guys, but I will make a video because a lot of people are like, what is Soleil water? Why would I drink that? Any other questions? Because we're almost at an hour. I don't like to drag these out for longer than an hour. And yeah, so just make sure that you check out the links below this video. Yes, Vanessa says, I'm so overdue with videos. But Vanessa was in like a different country because she lives in Prague. So she's been in Colorado with family for what, like a month or so, right, Vanessa? So it's like when you're traveling and you're doing all that, she kept up with her podcast every week. As a creator, I know it's like you keep so many balls in the air. And when you're traveling, it's hard to pull out the camera and film, especially if you just kind of want to relax. 6 weeks. Woo, yeah. 6 weeks gone out of the country. So that's hard to probably make videos. And I've had a hard time with it myself because I've been running my groups, and really involved in my private groups now, which is really just an awesome place to be. I've been having some really amazing people that come into my groups that, and I listen to people that say I'm doing this and it's not working. I'm like, okay, well then I need to learn more. Instead of, what I hear, oh, you're just doing it wrong. Like that's a vegan thing. You just did it wrong. Well, let's just talk about the fact that maybe that's not a good diet for anybody to be doing no matter how you do it. Yay. Thank you, Marley. Marley's in my group. Thank you, Sarah. So informative and appreciate all you do. I appreciate you guys too. I really do. So thank you for tuning in. If you tuned in late, go back and watch the beginning. I did go over a video for a few minutes of Dr. Berg and Zofia Clemens. And yeah, so you'll want to check that out. Yay. Tammy's here. Tammy Bell. Yay. Every time I try to chat to you, Tammy Bell, it like a little bell icon comes up every time in my phone. I try to answer your comment. All right, guys, we're at an hour, so I'm going to go. Have a really awesome rest of your Friday, and I will see you again on the next live stream. Bye, guys.